Hello? Is this thing on?
Hello, and welcome to Hold Up, a Movie Podcast. Last time we surfed the boob tube. This time we surf the net and walk on the webs. So join us as we hack the plots and keep our puns akimbo. Because tonight, our theme is the internet. I am your host, Davan Skelhorn. With me, as always, my co-host, Chris Worldmind Murphy. How you doing,
I didn't
Murphy?
just drop my cat. I didn't drop my cat at all.
What?
What are you talking about? No.
I
So
didn't
you
just
was
kick
for
my
something
cat
else,
down the
or-
stairs by accident either, so
So
don't worry
no,
about
not
it.
at all. She's perfectly fine.
We have two special guests tonight. Two buddies of
Cool
mine from
guys.
long time. Andrew Chow and Kyle Hill. How's it going, fellas?
That's us.
You guys. Yeah,
Hey.
you guys. How are you now, fellas?
Oh, hey. Doing
Can
well.
they read my name on the screen there?
Yeah, that should be up. Hold on. Oh, here it is.
Shit, Kyle, we're famous
Here we
now,
go.
bud.
I did,
Big day. Big day,
Hey,
buds.
now you can.
Why
Chow 5L07H.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sloth?
Okay. Yeah, that's
Sloth.
my hacker name. That's my hacker handle.
oh
Obviously, I came
Sloth.
prepared and no one else did.
my
No,
god,
that's
I
not.
didn't.
That's not true. I came prepared. I have my handle, as you can clearly see. It says Worldmind. Davin doesn't.
Thank you.
He's just Davin.
Davin's
you
an
know?
interesting
Thank you.
word.
I-
You don't see that a lot. What
Some
about Kyle?
professionalism here.
Yeah, I didn't come prepared with the hacker name. I'm sorry.
You-
I
that
like
was the
Chow's hacker
first-
name
that
because
was
it's
the first
sloth. He
rule.
just hacks really, really slowly. It's like, is somebody hacking us? I can't tell. It's just happening so slowly. But yeah, this is our 12th episode of our first season. We're going to talk about the internet tonight, aren't we, Murphy?
Davin's favorite subject in the world.
You know, this, I got to tell you, this did not go at all as I thought it would go. I got this episode surprised the hell out of me. These three movies. Yeah,
Murphy,
my
what did
biggest
you mean by
surprises
that?
so far.
Davin's
well,
favorite.
I just, if you know Davin, like I know Davin, and most that know Davin,
The hippie up there? Yeah.
he's not a fan of most things internet that are generally considered like, pop culture or what most people would use. He just like Twitter. We'll take that for instance. Not a big
I
fan.
don't like Twitter.
No. I've seen him on the TikTok doing those dances.
Oh well, you gotta send me that because I'm gonna need proof. That is vital information the world needs to see.
That was a private link, Chow. Thanks.
So yeah,
Thanks a lot.
it was interesting to see
Private no longer.
see his choices for these movies, and my experience with these movies were painful, surprisingly good, and more painful. That's how I felt with these three films so far.
I can't wait. I can't wait.
Well,
they're all
one
bad,
segment.
but they're all awesome at the same time for different reasons.
Yeah, in a way. Yeah, I would agree with that statement.
Well, actually, Guns Akimbo is just straight bad, but we'll talk about that. Yeah.
You're gonna talk about that. Yeah, I know, Murphy. I'm gonna blow Murphy's mind later. You guys are gonna see it live. Origin stories. You go first, Chow. You're directly below me. What's with you in movies?
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but out of high school, I wanted to make movies. I wanted to go into the film industry, but being Asian and having Asian parents, that's not the thing to do. You got to be a doctor, architect, lawyer, that kind of thing. So I went to university, didn't take any of those things, and then after a couple of years of university, I decided to try to get into film school at NCC, and of course, I didn't have the background to get in. So like, they have hundreds of applicants every year, and I didn't get in, and I got sidetracked into doing photography instead. So I worked in yeah, like you should just do photography. I'm like, okay. And I did that for several years, almost 10 years. And now I don't do anything related to that at all. I just I sit at a computer and draw straight lines.
It's never too late. We're doing big things here in the United Federation of Podcasts.
Sorry.
Never too late.
And that's it in a nutshell.
Kyle, how about yourself?
Very
What
good,
what
very
is your origin story?
My movie origin story.
Yeah, what's with you in movies?
What's
That's
with
what I asked.
me in movies? So
Yeah.
I would say that in my youth and young adult life, I was huge into movies and would watch any and all movies I possibly could. So a lot of movies circa 98 to 2003 were very formative for me. And then I feel like there's a certain point, maybe around 2010-ish, where I just stopped watching a lot of movies because I felt like it was just a lot of the same stories over and over again, and a little bit of MCU burnout, like after the fourth movie. And now there's like, what, 25 of them or more. And I haven't watched any of those, but lately I've been digging in and you know, just picking and choosing and watching some stuff that I find, you know, interesting. But yeah, I like a movie that, you know, makes me feel something, or makes me chuckle. But I have a weird sense of humor, so it's hard for me to find something that makes me chuckle. Yeah.
You like getting him
You
right in
see,
the
that's
feels,
sort
don't
of
you?
Yeah, right in the feels.
yeah, exactly.
That's what I want.
Well, that was sort of the thesis behind this podcast, where somewhere around the year 2000, I fell out of love with movies too, after they were like huge in my life. And then, like, I don't know, I just wondered why that was. And, you know, I would try to watch movies and new shows and stuff and couldn't get into them. And this is a bit of an exploration of whether my theory is correct and there was some sort of drop off, or I just am not watching the right movies, or I'm just nostalgic about old movies. It's an exploration.
Yeah.
Good origin
no.
stories, though, fellas.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what do we got here? In Theater 1, we have
Oh, hackers.
Hackers.
Yes.
Oh my god. This is the only reason I came here.
Yeah.
1995, starring Johnny Lee Miller, Angelina Jolie, Matthew Lillard, Lawrence Mason, and Fisher Stevens. Directed by Ian, perhaps? Softly.
I think it's Lane.
that font looks like Lane. No.
I think it's Lane.
Softly.
Let's say Lane.
But
Lane.
almost every other single person in there has a capital L in their name. You can't think that's not. So.
All right. Well,
Softly.
you want to launch the trailer there, Murphy?
Oh, we got a trailer.
We got a
Feel
trailer
free
for
to talk
Hackers?
over the. Yeah, feel free to talk over it.
That trailer's back now. Yeah, you also muted me during your little intro
Hidden
there. I was
beneath the
very
world
upset
we
about
know is the world they inhabit.
Dave,
Yeah, Mom?
what are you doing?
I'm taking over a TV network.
Well, finish up, honey, and get to sleep.
They're hackers.
Hackers penetrate and ravage private and publicly owned computer systems.
Hack the planet.
It's just something they do.
Sure this sweet machine's not going to waste.
Are you challenging me?
It's who they are.
I win, you wear a dress on our date.
And if I win, so do you.
They can crack any code. And get inside any system.
Hello?
Mr. Gill, according to our records, you're dead.
Bill Pierce.
What?
But this time,
Come here, look at this.
It's some kind of virus.
Unless $5 million is transferred to the following account,
That's
I will
not the voice
capsize
in the
5
movie.
oil tankers.
they just hacked the wrong guy.
Game's over.
Best
Whoever
intro
wrote this
ever,
needs
by the
somebody to
way.
take the
Rolling
fall.
He's about to commit the perfect computer crime.
You've created a virus that's going to cause a worldwide disaster?
And they're about to take the blame.
A hacker planted the virus. But it's the perfect cover.
We're being framed.
Can we be allies?
I don't play well with others.
Wow, we are fried.
Okay, let's nail it.
No. You're not good enough to beat me.
Yeah, maybe I'm not, but we are.
They're the only ones who can prevent a catastrophe.
I know how to stop this guy. They'll trace you like that.
Are you nuts? Come at me!
Unlike any the world has ever seen.
Never send a boy to do a woman's job.
Hackers of the world unite.
Cops on the building.
I need more time.
This is the end, my friend.
United Artists welcomes you to the new world.
God, I feel like I'm in the 90s.
Well, this is 95, man.
Oh, this is 95. That's one thing we
95.
can all agree about this movie.
This movie is...
This is like, was that like a 10-minute trailer?
That was a long
And
trailer.
one thing we've noticed...
Does anyone actually have to watch the movie now? I think that was the entire movie.
That was a lot of the movie. Except
You'll find that with the
vomit of
next
the
two
movie.
trailers too, probably, because trailers
Yeah.
always show the entire movie. We've been noticing that in this podcast. Even gone back, we even got like trailers back from movies in like the 50s and stuff, and they're still giving away the whole movie then too. So it's not even a
Like
news
our favorite Christmas film of all time, it literally starts with the trailer starts with the final scene of the film. Shit you not, it's called The Room, and it's a fucking horrendous film with the worst.
You mean The Apartment?
Was it The Apartment? Yeah, that's it. The Apartment.
Yeah, it's The Apartment. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah,
let's
so
not
the-
talk about The Apartment because
Yeah,
we're talking about
that's-
hackers.
That's not, yeah. That's
Yeah,
we're
we're
here
talking
to talk about the internet and
hackers.
hackers. Yeah.
All right. So Hackers 1995, the movie, is set in Seattle. 1988 is where the movie starts. It's an American film directed by Ian Lyon Softly. The film's plot follows a group of high school hackers and their involvement in a corporate extortion conspiracy. The main character, Dade Zero Cool Murphy, played by Johnny Lee Miller, is arrested at the age of
relation.
11. No relation. Thank fuck. Is arrested at the age of 11 for hacking into 1,507 systems in one day, causing a single 7-point drop in the New York Stock Exchange. He's then prohibited from touching any device that could connect to the internet until his 18th birthday. So upon turning 18, he decides, well, I guess he doesn't quite decide. He's living with his mother, to say the least.
That was only getting good then anyway. He didn't miss a whole lot.
Yeah, he didn't miss
like
much.
a couple web crawler searches and stuff. That's all you missed.
Yeah. So yeah, we get to hackers. He's his mother's Laura Murphy, played by Alberta Watson. He calls a local television station and hacks into their computer network, changing the current TV program to an episode of The Outer Limits. While doing so, he is then attacked by a hacker called Acid Burn on the same network, during which he identifies himself by the new alias Crash Override. Mess with the best and die like the rest, as his monarchy says, but she connects, obviously terminates that connection. So Dade attends his new high school, quickly making new friends, including Serial Killer, played by Matthew Lillard, Freak, played by Ronaldo Santiago, Nikon, played by Lawrence Mason, and the feisty Kate Libby, played by Angelina Jolie.
Badass names, and she's just Kate Libby.
Well, I mean, she's Acid Burn, and also Freak
Yeah,
is
true.
the Phantom Freak too. Get his full moniker in there.
Yeah,
Well,
true. Phantom
Fun
Freak.
fact, which is one of my movie morsels, but yeah, Kate Libby, or Acid Burn, was actually meant to be a male character, which they ultimately changed when they saw the chemistry that Angelina Jolie and Johnny Lee Miller were having during their casting. So they're just like, all right, let's just make.
Is that
Acid
what we
Burn
witnessed
female.
here? Chemistry?
That's what we witnessed here.
They
Apparently these two
were
have-
they
got
were
married.
They were
Chemistry.
married.
Yeah, they got married after this film.
They what?
Yes.
Yeah.
Our boy Johnny Lee Miller was married to Angelina Jolie.
Oh my god.
So yeah, Kate Libby
Well
is
then.
assigned to take him on tour of the school, and they quickly develop a feud with they quickly develop a feud when Dade is directed to the roof pool. That classic trick of getting locked in and rained upon.
Oh yeah, it's classic. Because
Yeah,
all
this eventually
schools have
actually
roof
leads to-
pools.
This leads to what I consider my favorite scene that holds up, which is I put somewhere. Where did I put it? There it is. Yes.
Joey.
One more dude at you and I'm gonna slap the shit out of you, okay? Now I try to save you from yourself, but you gotta stop letting your mama dress you, man. You hopeless.
Oh.
Check it.
I need a handle, man. I mean, I don't have an identity until I have a handle.
My mama still
you're right
dresses
about
me.
that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Check it Friday.
The reason why I like this scene
Alright,
is
wait,
because it
how about the master of
emphasizes
disaster?
how you.
Huh?
You're
It
hopeless,
emphasizes
man. Utterly
the
hopeless.
Ultra laser. Dr. Doom.
Dr. Doom. I
Dr.
love that
Doom's
scene.
taken. You can't just be Dr. Doom.
Yeah.
He just be an existing property.
I like that scene because it's ultimately.
I'm gonna be Spider-Man. Anyway,
it highlights the scene back in the 90s when the internet was running. It was like super critical to try and like come up with an online internet handle that didn't really involve numbers or anything or to that degree in your name.
Is that why you grabbed WorldMind back in like 1995?
To be fair, my first internet monarchy was Simon0666, but it was spelled PSYMON, which I had gotten from a game called SSX Tricky. There's a character in it called Simon, and he was wacky and crazy, and he did a bunch of fucking insane stunts. So I used that name for like 3 years, and then I found out about WorldMine through the Marvel Nova storyline, and I was like, oh, I like that name, and then I took that, and I hopped on that, and I made a career out of
it. And here we are today.
So yeah, that's why I love that scene. That was my favorite because it sort of emphasized that whole like that need.
That was not nearly. I mean, I usually just go by KH. It's not clever or creative at all. Because it's just what everybody called me.
So dull.
So dull.
Works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. You know. So yeah, he gets introduced to the scene, which is one of these crazy wild club undergrounds that actually, where is it? Oh no, hang on. This is Davan's scene because it sort of leads into Davan's scene as well. So this is Davan's scene.
This is see, there's the difference. Yeah, see, there's the 90s, and there's how the 90s saw itself. And this is how the 90s saw itself, which was like you could roller skate indoors everywhere. Teenagers hung out where there was no like supervision. And it was just like you saw that all the time. Like they could be dealing drugs in there and shit. Nobody cares because it's like there's spray paint on the walls and the kids got roller skates on.
It's a club for teenagers.
and the other reason I picked that scene is because what he just did there with the tones while making a collect call, that was actually considered the first form of hacking in the real world where people would do that. You could just make a certain tone and you could get calls for free. That's
so yeah,
the origin
Dade,
of hacking right there.
Enters one of these.
There was a funny nod in the movie.
Parties because, like, realistically, like I've never been to any sort of club or scene that has remotely like this. I think they used it.
Yeah, I was alive in the 90s. There was nothing like
no,
that.
So that's part of what makes this movie. Some aspects of this movie, like in a weird way, brilliant because it didn't necessarily age poorly because it's like it was. A large parts of it were just fantasy anyway, like the way they all dress and like some of the graphics and like the places they go. It's like that was just all like somebody's weird idea of what that was like. Like maybe there are pockets of the world where it was like that, but certainly, I mean, we grew up in rural areas, so maybe we just didn't have the opportunity to experience a cyberdelia equivalent.
Truth. I feel the clothing was pretty on point for this movie for back in the 90s. It was just like the graphics of hacking that was just way off the wall that got to me.
Yeah,
they thought the internet was something it definitely wasn't and ever going to become. Like this movie, of all these internet movies, this one understands the internet the least. Jody Simpson makes a good point. Fun fact, they are playing Wipeout on PS1.
Wipeout PlayStation 1 game. Thank you, Jody. Which I was like, is this a fake game? But it actually is a real game. And I was like,
I remember playing this in a real arcade.
Yeah.
Standing in a thing with two remotes. Two joysticks.
Yeah. Like, did the thing move that you're standing in?
No. It didn't freaking move.
Did you have roller skates on?
Davan, before we go any further, we got to clarify the difference between roller skates and roller blades.
Oh, you're
Big
right.
difference.
This wouldn't be a '90s movie at all if they were wearing roller skates. That's my bad.
Roller skates would be back in the '70s.
Do you know that rollerblading was not actually originally part of this film? They just decided to add it because they noticed the cast was enjoying themselves rollerblading off scene. So they're like, let's add
that must be what the kids do. They must rollerblade in their arcades and stuff.
They all look uncomfortable doing it.
Dade ends up beating Kate's like triple record and starts getting into hacking shenanigans. They talk about the big red book, which I thought was a funny scene as well. And Joey here, played by Jesse Bradford. Oh, Joey. All these actors are in their 20s. Joey, at the time, Jesse Bradford, was 16.
Hey, he was appropriately aged.
This character had a smoke in his hand. If not, I think it was even this scene. He has 2 smokes in his hand.
He does have 2 in his hands in this scene, yeah.
Oh, shit. Yeah.
He has 1 in each hand, yeah.
So
now that's 90s.
That's super 90s, but also his poor health. I hope they were herbal cigarettes. I'm sure they were, but like
the one actual teenager is the one smoking in the movie. Yeah.
He's probably like, "Don't worry, I've been smoking for 3 years."
Yeah, we also see his bare ass in this movie, so I don't know how he got this rating.
Oh
It's
I
true.
skipped past that, but yeah, there's
underage nudity.
There's a whole bunch
There's a lot of weird shit in this movie.
Yeah, like let's get the like that's weird.
Can we get his bare ass up on here, please?
Yeah, where's the bare ass?
Can we just skip ahead to the bare ass?
We just skip ahead to when he gets
cut to the
arrested.
chase.
There were two ass shots in this movie, and neither of them are in your slideshow here.
No. So the group gets in trouble when Joey Perdita, the novice hacker of the group, successfully breaks into Ellingson's mineral company supercomputer and downloads part of a garbage file, tipping off which was a real surprise cameo for me, but tipping off server guard Hal, which is played by fucking none other than
Look at this. What does all this internet infrastructure here do? Like, what is this?
Yeah, no, this is all practical effects too, because they wanted to make it, I guess, more dynamic and interesting. But yeah, Penn Jillette, of all places, comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, really.
He's named Hal. He's a server guard, and he contacts our main antagonist, portrayed by none other than the one and only Fisher Stevens. Oh, I just skipped a bunch of shirts. There he is. Fisher Stevens. Yeah, so he plays the character of the Plague. After a bit of hacker mojo, Joey is ceremoniously caught by the feds, and, that's when we get his bare ass, because they're taking away his computer. And that's when we're introduced to Agents Dick, Gill, and Agent Ray. But before we get to that, we are introduced to one of our host's favorite scene, which I believe is you, Andrew. You wanted the TV, or was it you?
Oh, this was me. I highlighted this scene.
No, wait, you wanted this one, or was it the
this
other
is
one?
my scene here.
This is yours. Sorry.
What's going on?
4,
There we go.
3, 2, 1.
Welcome to our show, Hack the Planet.
Hack the planet!
And for those late,
The planet.
Dope Cola, the soft drink of the elite hacker.
Who are these guys? It's Razor and Blade.
Find a payphone in a remote
Razor and Blade.
That's
man.
right, this is a payphone. Don't ask.
Don't ask, indeed.
All right, so when you
How did they get that payphone?
Yeah, where did they get it from? When you talk about some things holding up, like I don't know if you can watch two. There are a lot of, there's lots of digital content creators in the world, but a lot of, Twitch stuff, you can't watch it without seeing some sort of gamer fuel being advertised. I just thought that was like, ahead of its time in a way where it's like, yeah, we have like this random niche
Monster
drink.
Energy drink.
Well, but it's never Monster though. It's some other like weird off-brand. It's like it's usually G Fuel, or there's this one I see sometimes called like Mad Monk, but it's like MONQ, and they're all just like reskinned energy drinks. But
I think G Fuel just came out with a version called like Titty Milk, which is like
Take my money.
It's just like white and creamy, and it's supposed to have the consistency of cum.
Hold on,
They
where's
wanted-
my
the guy,
money?
The guy that was like collaborating with G Fuel's like, can we call it like cum? Is it too much to call it cum? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, what about like titty milk? And they're like, we can get away with titty milk. So,
amazing.
That's just the type of chaos.
Yeah, just that
wild branding.
That scene for like the introduction of Razor and Blade, getting some ethnic diversity in their cast, and potentially, even though it's never really
Peter Kim.
Yeah, even though it's not really ever stated outright, but potentially some LGBTQ there. Representation as well. I don't know if it's intentional or not, but one of them's wearing like a scarf that's like rainbow colored, so there might be something there. So again, just kind of having that tossed in, they get some bonus points there, or it's probably something that in a lot of other movies, I think you throw that in front of a test audience and like, get these people off the screen.
They also have the Kate Libby sexy dream of Dade wearing the motorcycle suit.
That's true.
That's true too. Yeah.
there's so many weird dream sequences, but during that like one scene after Dade gets he gets interrogated.
Made you hot too, right?
Then he gets arrested, or no, he gets interrogated. Has the dream where she comes in and like she opens her jacket, flashes a quick boob, and then jumps on him. And then makes out with him, and then immediately gets pulled off him where he gets arrested, and then he wakes up from a dream. And it's such a confusing set of events.
It's just all the shit that was on his mind at the time, man. That's just his mind was processing. He's like, I'm horny, and I'm about to get arrested, and that's what he was thinking about.
It's also pretty gross. I don't know if you ever worn a leather jacket, no shirt, but you get pretty sweaty.
Sticky. So speaking of sticky, we're gonna go back to the agents. We got Dick
speaking
Gill
of sticky,
Agent
Mark
Ray.
Anthony.
Mark Anthony, of all people, Mark Anthony fucking shows up in this film. I'm like, what are you doing here? You act? Since when did you act?
Well, see, this was like apparently this was like a movie that we're like, we're gonna give people who want to act a chance to be in this movie. So that's why Mark Anthony and Penn Jillette appear in this movie.
I was appreciating when
Anthony was super zeitgeist in 1995.
I suppose so.
He was just everywhere.
They bring in Joey here, and that leaves the Plague explaining to Ellingson,
Lorraine Bracco.
Yeah, Lorraine Bracco of all people as well. Another connection from a previous
favorite of mine.
She's back on the show, friend of the show. We got Plague explaining how the Da Vinci virus is going to sink all the oil tankers and in the shipping containers, and this is his plan to basically blame our heroes, the curious hacking kids, on them. The virus is actually, of course, a ruse that Eli and Margot, Larry and Bracco, are using to steal millions from the company. Meanwhile, Dade and Kate decide to settle their disagreements with a hacking duel. And their friends act as judges, proceeding with a series of hacks on Agent Dick Gill. After bringing
he's never referenced in the movie as Dick Gill. You just put that in because he's always referenced as Richard. I think in the movie.
I think they label his
I think they might call him Dick, but he always shows up as Richard though.
The one thing I found funny in this scene when the Plague is actually interrogating Dade is when he takes this bat and then just goes ham on the Sony tape deck, not the 2-player Sony tape deck, man. What's wrong with you? And of course, yes, he has his dream, sexy dream where he then gets hauled away from the police. Joey is fucking saying he's not an addict at an addict place of all things.
While smoking,
look, I'm not an addict.
While smoking and drinking coffee.
Get more coffee. Let's get some more coffee.
Yeah. That was a pretty good scene, actually. this movie has its charms. It's awful, but it's just like somehow it was still had me engaged. And it shouldn't, because it's just like a collection of trippy montages, like mixed with like somebody's face that's gone transparent and then things happen around their face.
It has an awesome soundtrack though.
It
does have an awesome soundtrack. It's basically a music video.
In some ways, yeah.
It very much is. After being released from Pearl, Joey reveals the disc containing the files to the friend. Phantom Freak and Joey are eventually caught up in public while they're Sorry, I'm a little behind on my slides here. Yeah, so Joey and the Freak are caught themselves in public by
Phantom
Secret
Freak.
Service, and Freak gets arrested
Yes,
for his troubles.
Could we like we were going to be talking about this more? Like, why is it
Yeah,
the Secret Service? Like, why is it not
Yeah, I
just the
know.
FBI? Like, does not? I thought the Secret Service was strictly like,
Guarding
protecting
the
the
president?
president and like
Like,
maybe
yeah.
other former presidents. Like, why is the Secret Service
That
coming
makes no
after
sense.
these people?
That's a great point.
Like,
I never thought about that.
like,
I was thinking, surely it's CIA or FBI, but when I was like doing my notes, they just kept saying Secret Service, and I'm like, all right, so I guess it's the Secret Service.
Maybe the Secret Service hires protecting presidents and hackers. Those are their two jobs.
That
Catch
dude was
hackers.
terrible at being secret. Huge camera on the shoulder.
Just throwing the camera
Dude.
on the shoulder and like looking over your shoulder while taking the photo. Yeah,
like literally 12 feet away from the people you're observing.
Being
so yeah,
serviceable. He's just giving
Freak
it
here
away.
gets arrested, and as soon as he contacts Kate, he informs her that he hid the disc in the boys' bathroom at the school, and we get
In the
this
place
like,
where he hid that thing that
super
time.
uncomfortable scene where she's in the bathroom and there's just like 5 guys giving her rape looks, just leering at her the whole time because she's in the bathroom, and it's like.
Well,
That
and
dude
she's
was
at
t-shirt tucked in though.
So the disc was hidden behind a condom machine, right? So she's in there pretending to get a condom while getting the disc. So they're all like, "Oh yeah, she fucks."
She kind of gets it, and then she's like, "Oh yeah, I got to get the condom," and then like walks back to it, and then like flaunts it on the way out, and it's like, So yeah, Kate and serial killer asked Dade for his help in copying the disc, and that's when they learn that the disc is designed to salami slice $25 million from Ellingson's transactions. They plan to hack the Gibson again with the help of Razor and Blade, Darren Lee and Peter Kim. And
Planet.
they evade hack
Is that
the
the Hulk?
planet. No, that's Dade.
And this
Luffering no
amazing
Hulk.
scene. This was almost my scene I picked as my favorite scene.
Oh,
just
really?
because well, I mean, it's so like it feels like I said, Davan mentions there's parts of the movie where like it just feels like some fever dream music video thing. Like if someone was like, "Oh man, I really like noir movies. Let's put in this like noir like exchange of information." Like he rolls up on the holding on. I'm watching this and like he can't ride his skateboard through here, like remembering it. And it's like, oh no, he's holding on to the outside of the car on the sidewalk when he grabs the friggin' disc. Like it's the stupid, and like the music is different than the music anywhere else in the movie. Like it's just it's so out of place compared to the rest of the movie. It's
the lighting
hilarious.
in this film is the wildest lighting I've seen. Like bathrooms have spotlights on like certain characters while things are dark. Like hallways have like 7 different light sources, but none of them are uniform. They're all like generally spotlit areas, and it's so weird. It was the weirdest like uneven lighting I've seen in a film in a long time.
This is a funny scene, though. You're right. It's just like the director leaned over to like the assistant director, just like, "Hey, man, you know those like cool movies where like the detective walks in, like, and he's like monologuing and it's dark and shadowy."
They hand over the envelope with the the photos of the guy's wife with some
I
other
think we need
letters.
one of those.
We need one of those, but with the stick and the skateboard.
And rollerblades. We need rollerblades.
We need more rollerblades.
So yeah, we get back to Razor
and Blades.
So they want to evade the Secret Service. They decide to converge on Central Station, where they're going to use payphones, the original VPNs, to begin their assault on the Gibson.
The original VPN.
And that's when Razor and Blade are like, let's send out a mass hashtag. We'll bring up a tweet, bring the world together, get a hashtag going, hack the planet, and we'll help distract everybody for you. So they contact hackers around the world, including places such as like Italy and Japan and Russia, while these guys are down at the Grand Central Station. Sorry, I'm losing my track here. Yeah. who lend their support with virus extracting plague long enough for Dade to download the incriminating file to the floppy disk. Shortly after crashing the Gibson, Dade and his friends are arrested, but they manage to toss the disk in a trash can before they are taken away, which is retrieved by a serial killer. As they're being interrogated, can we wait? Sorry, I'm just gonna back. This scene with the fucking floating phone booths when they're all
yeah, where they're like they're rotating around while they're in the phone booths. Yeah.
It's so like, what the fuck is happening? What is this?
Because you needed to
That's
see...
what I mean about music video. Everything's done like you would in a music
you
video.
Needed to see every angle of their face to understand how serious they were taking this hacking endeavor. Like you couldn't capture that from one angle. You had to see it from every angle.
One small detail though, if you notice, if you pay attention to the clocks to when they're hacking, sometimes they'll like cut back to a scene where you see the clock and like hours have passed. So at least they're like somewhat consistent in like the passage of time that it takes to fucking sit there and hack.
You know, I noticed it, yeah, in like I think it's the first scene when he's hacking into the TV, the time is moving like as if like seconds are going by. Yeah, it's like 3:40 something a.m. or whatever, but like it's changing every second. I did notice that.
Yeah, this movie was so speculative on what it thought the internet was going to be, and it was just like, well, somebody was really, really into the internet.
But like the thing, at least for hacking, the thing for hacking that they got the most right was in that opening scene when he just calls the guy and pretends to be like some guy in accounting and gets the information. Like most of hacking is just social engineering anyway. So when he does that, it's like, yeah, that's just basically like sending a fake email and someone clicking on a link. That's all that was.
It was accurate for all of 3 minutes, and then everything else became like
yeah.
Let's
Matthew Lillard I just found annoying in this movie.
What?
I know there was a time in the 90s when Matthew Lillard talking like this, man, was like considered like entertaining, but it doesn't work for me.
No, he has so many great quotes in this movie.
Yeah, he has
like
so many great quotes.
Watching this movie again, I hadn't watched it for a few years. There are so many things that it's like I say some of these lines in this movie. Like
what are some of your hackerisms?
Some of my hackerisms, like, whoa, this isn't woodshop. And even though saying like, are we fashionably late isn't necessarily like unique to this movie, but the way the Razor and Blade say it, I realize that I always say it like with that intonation, like when they call them when they're in the phone booth, it's like, are we fashionably late? Like that's how I always say that. Is the way that they say it. I'm like, ah, shit, this movie impacted me way too much.
Watching Matthew Lillard just made me want to watch SLC Punk.
It's a favorite scene.
SLC
I think I might
Punk.
Have gone past it real quick, but yeah, this is.
Yeah, I didn't watch Chow's scene.
Is he playing an Oculus Rift or whatever they are?
Something like that.
What the hell are you doing?
He's got the sheriff badge on.
Play.
What does he do with the badge?
Gil, I think we got something. Hard copy.
I used to say that about you. Yeah, hard copy.
I say that at work.
Yeah,
copy.
I'm pretty sure I
You were like, what are you talking about?
So yeah, serial killer retrieves the hard drive, and as he's being interrogated, revealing the plot from right. So Eli and Margot celebrate by basically doing the nookie. And while these two are being interrogated, actually the whole crew is being interrogated at this point, serial killer, with the help of Razor and Blade, hacks the world and gets a TV every segment, just hacking the planet, where he gets to basically reveal the plot of the movie and Margot's complicity in the big money scheme, which Lorraine Bracco loses her shit once she hears her name. The plague
whole
is arrested,
scene, I was just thinking,
course.
man, I wish they picked any character but Matthew Lillard to be the guy up on that screen.
So Lorraine Bracco's trying to let him know that Eli is in, and this scene confuses me. So the plague is ultimately arrested when he's trying to flee to Japan under the alias of Mr. Babbage while on a plane. Why he wasn't arrested at the gates, we'll never know why.
Yeah, they wait until he's like, how long are they on this flight before they're like, we're gonna arrest this dude?
Flight to Japan. Let's take the red eye.
You're trying to wear a disguise
midway through.
Yeah, and so and they're in New York. So where is he connecting through? Like they're showing the plane. Is the plane over the ocean? Like is it going from New York to the West Coast? Is it flying over Europe? Like at what point are they arresting him? So
I don't think mad scientist is the best costume.
Yeah, so here's a little thing too I had in my notes I'll throw in there really quick because he has some name with the last name Babbage on the fake profile that he creates like for Dade's mom. Her last name is also Babbage, but it's something hyphenated Babbage. So I'm like, what's this guy's obsession with the name Babbage?
I think Babbage was like a real life hacker back in the day. In my notes, so it's I think it's a callback to that.
Or some sort of father of computer science.
Yeah. So was the Gibson, right? There was some guy with the name Gibson, and that's why I think that's where the computer being called the Gibson. That was a nod to some pioneer of programming, whose name
Gibson.
His name I can't remember. His name was Gibson.
There's Gibson. They talk about Gibson in the net too because they're drinking Gibsons.
Yes.
To wrap this up.
Right.
The movie ends with Dade and Kate having their rooftop pool swim, and as they make out in front of a city skyline with the windows lit to say "crash and burn," and that's basically.
Okay, was this whole movie just to get to that scene right there where it says "crash and burn" on
Well,
the building?
It's maybe.
She even says it's like if you weren't such a doofus and just admitted the fact that I'm a pretty good hacker, you could have saved yourself a bunch of trouble and basically could have saved yourself the entire movie. But
she
they
is a
stopped the
doofus,
global
though.
plot and saved millions for an oil tanking company. So, thumbs up, hey! Like hackers, they saved an oil company millions of dollars.
Yay!
Yeah, I'm so mixed. I have such mixed feelings about this movie. We'll talk about that here now. But first, which performance would you hold up? Guess first. What about you, Chow? Who's your favorite performance in this movie?
Matthew Lillard.
Oh no! Okay,
Suck it,
that's
Davan.
fine. Well, fine. Maybe it was great. It's just not my cup of Lillard.
Not your cup of Lillard.
Actually, you know what? I really like the Phantom Freak too. I really like this character. I liked his energy, and I think that that kind of energy could hold up in today's movies for sure.
Yeah.
Santiago, what was his name again? It was Renoli
Ronaldo.
Santiago.
Oh.
Renole. That could be wrong. Anyway, for me, I would say my hold up is easily the plague in Fisher Stevens. Fisher Stevens, if not for him, I don't know how far this movie would have gotten. I did love Matthew Lillard. He was the comedic joy and nostalgia I needed to keep me going through this film. But Fisher Stevens broke his back to make this film entertaining.
There's something to be said about when a movie appears to not be great, but the person playing the villain goes all in on being the villain, and you're like, this is like if he gets someone pitches him this movie, it's like, listen, you work for a big corporation, but you're an anti-hacker, and you wear a trench coat and ride a skateboard through the fucking office. He's like, I'm in. I want this role.
Did you pick a performance there, KH?
Yeah, I don't know. If I had to pick an individual performance from it, I'd be with Matthew Lillard or Renoli, just because they were just fun characters that you can take their sort of archetype and apply it to anything now, and it would still be entertaining. The things that made those characters, their energy, that would still apply now. I felt like Johnny Lee Miller was really stiff. It's one of these things where as a kid you're younger, you watch that, and then later on you realize oh, he's actually British, and he's doing an accent here, and that probably explains some of the stiffness in his performance at times because he's trying to.
I just assumed he was on the spectrum.
Well, see, you know what's funny? As I was watching it, I'm like, wait, is that what he's going for? Like, is it like is
I
that
think it is.
Is that insensitive to think that? Like, there's
I don't
the
care.
one scene
Something.
like when he's talking to the plague and he's like, I don't play well with others, and he's like, and then he does the thing where he goes, nah. It's like that scene was like bad, but then also it's like, shit, is he just playing that like next level good? And I don't know.
I think so, because there's like some, tick boxes that are checked. Like, okay, he's a genius at 11 years old, right?
He's a savant. So,
yeah, and then he can't touch a computer for 7 years, and we all know how fast like technology advances. So all of a sudden, he's that good for not having to touch a computer for 7 years.
I don't know, maybe. Or his parents.
You think he didn't touch a computer for that 7 years?
Okay,
Yeah,
here's the big thing. Okay, when they bust him, they say he's violating his probation, which is bullshit because he was 18 and his probation was up when he turned 18. So they're like, what probation? He was not violating any probation.
I mean, it's the Secret Service. They can do what they want, right? Yeah, or a scare tactic, yeah.
Retroactive probation.
Yeah. So yeah, no, Matthew Lillard and Renoli, I think like you could plug those characters into a movie today and they would still work, I think.
All right, I'm gonna pick Lord Nikon, played by Lawrence Mason, just because he has my favorite line. He's just like, "You're Zero Cool? Thought you were black, man."
So all right, no, but here's the problem with that. He says he has a photographic memory, right? In that opening scene, so an 11-year-old is being taken out of the courthouse, and there's like a million cameras, and Lord Nikon, the guy with photographic memory, remembers the issue of the newspaper, but there isn't a photo of the kid in this news article. They took
probably. I mean,
they took so many pictures of him.
I think there's probably like
you're the real Lord
like,
Nikon, KH.
Post photos of underage criminals, basically.
Sure, but you'd think like,
oh yeah, maybe,
probably, but you'd think they probably just wouldn't have had like all the people there to begin with because it was a child. Like they would keep it under wraps. But
I mean, it was big story, I guess.
And how old? Here's a question for you, Davan. How old do you think Lord Nikon's character is in this movie?
Lord Nikon, I would say probably like 18.
So how old do you think Lawrence Mason was at the time of this movie?
Probably like 30.
Yeah, he was 29, I think. But like, it's never at any point said like, is he in school or recent graduate? Like, is this guy like 26? So they're just going over to his house to hang out and watch hacker.
I would say he's older because he has his own place.
Didn't have the older
I guess he does
30-year-old
have
guy
his own
that would
place.
smoke pot and drink beer with you.
I believe he's like 26 in
totally
that.
my life?
Yeah.
No, I didn't have the 30-year-old man who invited me and my teenage friends to hang out with him. No, I didn't know that guy growing up.
Damn.
You can be that guy now.
I can't be that guy now. I'm too old to be that
Generations into alcoholism.
The setting aesthetic. This movie would look crazy. It doesn't look like 1995. It doesn't look like any particular time at all.
No.
It's like Blade Runner. Like
it's a bad acid trip of 1995 is what it is.
Yeah,
pretty much.
So I think that's something that in a way it almost helps it hold up in a way because it's not like so obviously 90s that when you watch it now you're like, oh my god, we were so dumb back then. It's like this is like extreme counter subculture stuff that very few people would have experienced anyway. So it's still like a bit of a novelty to see it and a bit of a treat that way where it's like, yeah, it's not like cringe to be like, oh my god, this was like watching a music video from 1995 for like a top 40 rock pop band. You're like, this is bad. But this movie, no man, I think the setting and the aesthetic it carries on because it was like it wasn't real at the time, so it's still like it's half science fiction practically.
This is basically science fiction. Like this is, you think this classifies as science fiction? At least now, like when you look back on
it. At a certain point, they go back and reclassify it as science fiction.
At At least that one episode of Futurama where they go to the internet makes a lot more sense now.
Well, now it's time for...
So, movie morsels for Hackers of 1995. I spoke about Angelina Jolie being introduced in the film, gender, character switch, all that stuff. The password God used in the film is actually one of the most commonly used passwords in real life. The film's
terribly short password.
I know.
Yeah, you wouldn't be able to use it now in most cases.
Nowadays, not so much. But yeah, for a long time, apparently, it was all.
In 1995, that was everyone's password.
The film's computer-generated graphics were cutting edge for their time, and many of the visual effects were created using Silicon graphics workstations, which were commonly used in Hollywood at the time. The film's hacking sequences mostly used motion-controlled models instead of computer graphics to avoid looking too artificial. The filmmakers had difficulty securing funding for the film, so this film was almost not made until Matthew Lillard himself convinced his friend and director Francis Ford Coppola to invest in the project.
Wow.
That guy's
this is a Francis Ford Coppola production.
Yes, it is.
I mean, there was some pretty obvious product placement in a couple spots too. So they got a little bit of money from that. There were some beverages that were clearly displayed.
Some McDonald's, that was talked about. So yeah, the film's climactic hacking battle scene was shot in just 2 days using a combination of practical and computer-generated effects. The filmmakers used a real-life garbage dump as the location for the scene. The filmmakers also originally wanted to include a scene where the hackers break into the White House computer system, but the Secret Service denied the request to film on location, and the scene was...
I just put the Secret Service in the movie.
They're like, we're putting you in the movie. Let us come into the White House.
That's the answer. No, that's the answer. We're like, why did they make it the Secret Service? It makes no sense. They just did it to stick it to them. It's the only thing that makes sense.
I have to Google what does the Secret Service do?
The first thing that comes up is gonna be stop hackers, and we're all gonna shit our pants.
So this one's interesting. The Robert Morris worm, also known as the Great Worm, was a computer worm that infected approximately 6,000 Unix machines in November of 1988, causing widespread disruption and damage. The worm was created by Cornell University graduate student Robert Tapin Morris, who released it onto the internet to gauge its potential impact.
Wait, is his last name Tapeworm? Is that what you said?
His middle name's Tapin. Tappan Morris. He's released a Tapin worm onto the internet to gauge.
Great worm. That's what I call my baseball bat.
Okay. However, due to a programming error, the worm replicated too quickly and ended up causing a denial of service, a DOS attack, on the machines it infected, causing them to crash or become unresponsive. The incident became one of the first high-profile cyber attacks and led to Morris being the first person to be convicted under the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, which inspired the film's opening scene. And the final morsel here, the filmmakers hired a group of actual hackers as consultants to make the film's hacking scenes more realistic.
I had that in my notes. I said there are hacker consultants in the credits.
The film's writer-director...
Surprise, motherfucker!
That was for you, Irving.
Thank you. The film's writer, director, and some cast members attended the New York City 2600 meeting to observe and talk with real-life hackers. So yes, apparently real-life hackers were used in the making of this movie to consult.
See, Davan, it is real.
The whole thing was real. This is not science fiction.
This movie was released on September 15th, 1995. It has a runtime of 107 minutes. It had a budget of $20 million, which is basically the amount of money that was to be stolen in the grifting scheme from the plague. And the box office made a total of $7.5 million.
Yeah,
this was a bomb.
It's not
did not do well.
Nailed it.
No.
Nailed it.
I feel like it's maybe...
landing.
It's maybe garnered a bit of a cult following, but
How did they get $20 million to make this movie?
Yeah, like I feel like there are people who say hack the planet and don't know that this is like the origin of like where that came from. You know, it has a bit of a cult status in a way.
20 million down the train.
And this movie started Matthew Lillard's reputation as a moneymaker, one you can take to the bank.
Thanks, Johnny Lee Miller, for wasting 20 million.
All right, rewatchability. What about it? Would you rewatch this movie?
Yes.
I mean, I got out my DVD copy to watch it, so that tells you. I think that tells you what you need to know.
If I was drinking at a cyber bar and it maybe was in the background and I didn't really have to pay attention to it, possibly. Otherwise, I don't think I would sit down and rewatch this.
I think for what it has for problems, the pacing is like pretty good. Like the movie skips along pretty quickly. Like it. I'll definitely probably watch it again at some point.
I have the DVD. I just don't have a DVD player.
I just don't have a DVD player, so I had to put it in the Xbox. Yeah, because I don't have a DVD player.
I had to sail the high seas, matey.
Yeah.
Davin, did you say it holds up again?
Yeah, I would just like to go back and see its absurdist take on 1995.
There you go.
Like, it's
it
just
would be
so
interesting to
absurd.
reflect on in like 20 years, maybe.
Like I said, I don't know why I was enjoying myself. I was sitting there and I'm just like, God, I did not expect it to hold up at all. But let's ask ourselves that right now. Does it hold up? The big question.
No. But I still love it.
It's like I can answer this question in a few years when I let my son watch it, and we'll see what he thinks.
No, I think like to ask that question, does it hold up? Like, can someone who was born after 1995 and actually like it grew up like with internet, like we were all born, we grew up without the internet. So if someone, much younger than us could watch this movie and enjoy it, then yeah, it holds up. And I can't see that actually happening.
No, they would be so confused by things like the payphone and like just like PlayStation 1 games and like tape decks and like
rollerblades. What?
I know it's like a music video, and they just be like, "Why would you make a music video like this?" But yeah, no, I don't think it holds up. It's weird. I see why it has a cult following, and that's why I think it has rewatchability, because it's just so weird. You just want to put it in and just take it in for a minute.
Yeah, it's definitely it's difficult. Yeah, I agree with the notes. It's like difficult to introduce to like a new audience, but I think there are people who just like if somebody were to put on like a hackers themed event and like come as your favorite character, like I think that would be a thing people would get into. Like it's just, I don't know, it has a lot of character to it, but yeah, certain aspects of it wouldn't pass the test of modern movie watchers, I think. Yeah,
I just don't understand
I don't think the story holds up.
Just don't understand that. He said it was because
the only part I get.
They just liked rollerblading, and so they put it in the movie. That's it.
Yeah,
that's true.
They're all so bad at rollerblading.
Well,
none of them
look. They were having a good time. That was a movie. They were having a good time.
Yeah.
Just having a good time in the 90s, rollerblading when it was popular.
Like I don't know, like if we're talking about hackers for very much longer. Can I tell you my weirdest thing I observed when rewatching this movie?
All right,
yeah, do it.
When Dade and Kate, Crash and Acid agree to their hack battle and they shake on it, they use their left hands.
What? Totally unlucky and disrespectful.
She holds out her left hand and then the left hand shakes, and it's the
nothing about this movie reflects the real world. It's all just a bizarro universe.
I took notes, man. I came prepared. I can throw them out while Murphy goes into his thing.
Did you also know the part where the plague rolls in?
Movie morsels with KH here.
Why does a waiter carry scissors? Do you think waiters normally carry scissors? Because he swipes the guy's.
Did he have it in his apron, or did he get it from the counter?
I know he had it like, because he walked over to the guy and then he pulled it out of his little apron and then cut his cards. Like, he just carries scissors with him all the time. Is that a thing in fancy restaurants I don't know about when they have to cut people's cards up?
Yeah, maybe you have to cut receipts back then. Who knows?
Yeah, it was like a common trope back
Cards
in,
up.
like,
Yeah, it was just, yeah, no, it was like, yeah, it was a common, yeah, it was a
Yeah.
common trope.
Yeah.
The other trope that I had made a note of was the getting a trace, convenient plot device. Like, let's get a trace on his phone. It's like just some random oil company, like.
I think it happens in the next movie too. They're just like tracing.
Well, like,
Oh,
think
yeah,
of their
all the time.
server room, for fuck's sakes. It was just like glass towers and like up lighting and just like made no sense. It's like,
Yeah,
where's
yeah.
the cooling? How does your shit work? Are you in the fucking the Fortress of Solitude? Is Superman gonna come in and open the door for you guys? Like,
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's
more, Kyle.
move on.
Oh man, you want some more? Well, let's see what I
I'd
Oh,
like
you
a
got
few
more?
have. I mean, we can talk about how Wendell Pierce doesn't age, because this movie was
True, he doesn't.
almost 30
looks
years ago.
immaculate.
Dude basically looks the same.
Good point.
Yeah, I mentioned there are two Diet Cokes that appeared in the movie. There's one scene with the Plague and Lorraine Bracco's character when they're like going up and down the escalators where it feels like they did like the audio like post, like it just feels really off.
Didn't notice. This whole movie felt sort of off.
Well, yeah. Well, the sound was off in a few places, like when Angelina Jolie says, "I hope you don't fuck like you type." That was completely unsynced.
That was a thing too. Yeah, it's okay. Change it later. And like my other big question too is like, what do you think the timeline is for this whole movie, from like start to finish? How much time do you think passes? Like, because it seems like a lot happens with people getting
I would say
arrested.
it's probably a month, because there seems like, they keep the Joey kid detained and he's grounded.
Well, yeah, and like how long from like when Freak is arrested to him being like in the jail payphone, or like the jail like making the collect call? Like how long does that take to happen? Because it feels
You
like
get your call immediately.
but it feels like he gets arrested in the morning and like literally that night he's like in some prison where dudes are like making gross comments at him. It's like that doesn't happen that quickly. Like you don't get processed and put in prison that fast. Like
The Secret Service fast tracks these hacks.
that's right. Everything could just be creative license, right? Secret Service just does whatever they want, right? That's
So you looked it up. What does the Secret Service do, KH?
They capture cyber criminals.
We ensure the safety of the president, their families, the vice presidents, foreign heads of state, former United States presidents and their spouses, and events of national significance. So I guess if this was considered an event of national significance, they would get involved.
Cyber hackers, hacking potential oil tankers around the world would be of significance.
Yes, when the IT guy who calls himself the Plague says, "Hey, Secret Service, someone downloaded my garbage file," they're like, "We're in."
We're all in. We're gonna catch these hackers with a big old net.
Speaking of the net,
what a segue! What a segue!
Let's move over to theater too.
He's our professional.